Our scripture this morning starts in Matthew 15, beginning at verse 10. And he called the crowd to him and said to them, "Listen and understand. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but it is what comes out of the mouth that defiles." Then the disciples approached and said to him, "Do you know that the Pharisees took offense when they heard what you said?" He answered, "Every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Let them alone. They are blind guides of the blind. And if one blind person guides another, both will fall into a pit." But Peter said to him, "Explain this parable to us." Then he said, "Are you also still without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth enters the stomach and goes out into the sewer? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this is what defiles. For out of the heart come evil intentions, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, slander. These are what defile a person. But to eat with unwashed hands does not defile." Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Just then a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not answer her at all. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed instantly. May the Lord bless the reading and the hearing of his holy word. Amen.
Well, many, many years ago, there were some young ladies in this particular high school who gathered each morning in the ladies' restroom. There they put on their lipstick, and for some bizarre reason, they all kissed the mirror before they left classes. Well, you can imagine, the custodian wasn't really happy about that. It's not easy to get lipstick prints off the mirror. And they talked to them, they tried to convince them in many different ways not to do that. Finally, the principal had enough. He barged into the restroom one morning. The girls are all in there putting their lipstick on. And he's got the janitor in tow, crusty old guy. He says, "Ladies, I don't think you understand just how much effort and energy it takes and time it takes to clean this mirror every single morning. Bob, show them." So Bob grabbed the nearest toilet brush, dipped it in the toilet, and began to scrub the mirror. And amazingly, it took care of the problem. No one wanted to be a potty mouth, literally. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about being a potty mouth in a way that's probably not the way most people think. We'll start off by talking about that which shall not be named in refined circles. We all have them. We all use them. But we rarely speak of them. We euphemistically say they're in the bathroom. They're in the rest room. They're in the powder room. The little girl's room. They're in the convenience room. the lavatory, the water closet. It's at the outhouse from years ago, or even the privy. All of them refer to something, but they never say what's in there. What am I speaking of? A toilet. Somebody was brave enough to say it. Thank you. Okay? It's a toilet. It's as simple as what it is. We talk around it, but we rarely ever say the word. It's like we're embarrassed by it. And contrary to popular belief, the modern flushing toilet was not invented by a man named John Crapper. That's not true. Honestly, it goes back to a gentleman in England by the name of Sir John Harrington. His ideas and invention was patented later by Alexander Cummings and was improved upon by Thomas Crapper. And some of the guys coming back from World War I saw the name emblazoned right there on the tank above their heads, because that was the day when the tank was really up high, and they brought that endearing term back to us. That's where it originates. But in some parts of the world now, they're getting some really high-tech toilets. We don't see them too much in the States yet, but they're on their way. And some of these have a special control arm that comes out. So you can actually adjust the height of the seat. You can heat the seat. You can turn on all different kinds of lights. Food lights, reading lights, you name it. Music, you want that, you can have it. And then with a simple little, very light tap of the button there, it flushes. And you never have to touch anything else. But no matter how fancy you make it, it's still what? A toilet. But you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. And it is what it is. And you may be wondering, why in the world would he be talking about that today? It's strange, I grant you that. But that's what Jesus was talking about. Did you hear that word when Pat was reading? Did you hear the word toilet in there? I'll reveal that to you in just a few moments. First, to get the context of it, we actually have to back up a little bit. We didn't read this section because it was kind of long. But if we go back to the first verse of chapter 15, we hear that some Pharisees and scribes have come all the way from Jerusalem to confront Jesus. There's some holy hygiene issues that they want to get straight with Jesus. These are the guys from Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is like the central business office of everything. It's where the big guns are. And so these are the dudes that come out of Jerusalem that know everything. And nobody's supposed to question them. There's where they are, okay? So these are the really big dudes. And they come to confront Jesus about why he and his disciples break the tradition of not ceremoniously washing their hands before they eat. And this is one of those times where Jesus kind of aggressively answers them. He kind of gets in their face a bit. He shocks them. And he insults them. And he says, if you go back and read that first portion, they're the ones who are breaking the rules. They're breaking the laws and the commandments. They're the ones not honoring mothers and fathers. They are the ones who are not taking care of the widows and orphans. They're actually taking advantage of the widows. He says, they're a bunch of hypocrites. He says, their words are correct, but they're nothing but lip service in all of that. And so Jesus calls out to the crowd. Once he kind of admonishes the scribes and Pharisees, he calls out to the crowd, and that's where we began today. Listen and understand, he says. It's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles. I think the next verse is almost comical. The disciples feel the need to approach Jesus and say, you know, I think you offended those guys. You know, as if Jesus didn't know that already. That was his whole intention. And they say, do you know, you offended them. And Jesus' response is basically, so what? They're like a bunch of blind people leading other blind people. They're all going to fall into a pit. Don't worry about that. This is what I have to say to you. The disciples say, okay, Jesus, but we don't get it. We don't quite understand what you're saying. And then verse 17, he says this. Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth enters the stomach and then goes out into the sewer? That's what the New Revised Standard Version says. That actually the Greek word is a phaedron, which literally means the waste bowl. And what for us is the waste bowl but the toilet bowl? Yeah. Now, are you shocked that Jesus is talking about a toilet? We shouldn't be. They probably really weren't all that shocked by the fact that he was using that as an example. It's a fact of life. What shocked them, and probably should shock us in reality, is that he compares a human heart to a toilet. That's what should be shocking to us. Because he says what our mouths speak is what's really in our hearts. And it's what's in our heart that really defiles us, that dirties us, that dishonors us. He says if our hearts are a cesspool, that's exactly what's going to come out of our mouths. He says evil intentions, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, slander. Jesus says if our heart is filled with that kind of stuff, it's like a cesspool, and it's going to overflow and pollute everything around it. Good. That's one nasty potty mouth, isn't it? It's not what we think. We normally think of potty mouth when we're talking to little kids, or we're talking about someone who uses some curse words. But for Jesus, it's all about the heart and the life. He can't stand the hypocrisy of the Pharisees and the scribes. Jesus insults them, he startles everybody else. And he says, you're so worried about the hand washing. The hand washing isn't the big deal. It's the heart. It's not about washing the hands, it's about washing the heart. In chapter 23, Jesus picks up on this hypocrisy again with the scribes and Pharisees. There he calls them whitewashed tombs. Think of that image. He says, you're all nice and pretty on the outside, but you're like rotting corpses on the inside. Everybody looks at you, and it looks really good, but inside you stink. You're rotting. And these are not the only places in Scripture where we're confronted with what we might call kind of crude language. And God's Word is actually a little more in our face than we give it credit for. And partly because when the folks who do the translations do them, they don't want to be too offensive to us good, fine Christian people. So they tailor that language so that we're not offended. But we lose something when we don't know the real words. Because when Jesus said it, he intended to be offensive. And when we clean it up, we don't get the full force of that. We don't quite understand what he's saying and doing. Sometimes we don't know why everybody got so upset with Jesus. Some of you may remember a sermon I did several years back from Philippians 3. And there Paul recites this whole long list of his credentials and why he should be able to be the preacher he is. I mean, he said, if you want to brag, I've got lots of reasons to brag. He said, I was circumcised on the 8th day, just like you're supposed to be. I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. When it comes to being a Pharisee, I was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. He goes through this whole long list of stuff. And then he says this, but I regard this as rubbish in order that I may gain Christ. Rubbish. That's such a nice, palatable word, isn't it? In the NIV it says garbage. The word in Greek is skubala. Anyone remember that word? Aha, okay. Stuck with someone. All right. Skubala. In the King James Version, it's translated as dung. And that's more accurate. It was a little more slang than that, though. You and I would probably use the word crap. But it's probably a little harsher than that. So you can imagine what that is. Paul says, I've got all this stuff going for me, and everybody thinks it's great, but he said it's just a pile of stuff compared to knowing Jesus. And so you begin to put these kind of images together and you see what Jesus is trying to say today. And at least the vision that I get is really revolting. It's kind of disgusting, quite honestly. Jesus is saying, if my heart is full of all that, it's going to overflow like a toilet and get everywhere, on everything. Kind of disgusting. That's exactly what Jesus is talking about. Our words and our actions are a product of what's inside of us. What's in our heart, Jesus says. And the Sermon on the Mount, he talks a bit about this in several different places. Jesus says, for the example of the issue of lust, he says, if you have lust in your heart, you're already guilty of adultery. Even if you never acted on it. Why? Because it's in your heart. He said that if you have hatred in your heart, you've already committed murder against that person in your heart, though you never acted on it. Because that's what's in you. I know we all make mistakes and we do stupid things. And sometimes we do things that are completely out of character for us. We never will do it, but we do it. We have to ask for forgiveness from God, from other people. And we never do that kind of thing again. That happens. But Jesus is talking about something that's deeper than that. It's more systemic than that. It's part of what's going on deep inside of us. And that requires a massive cleanup. It's something that Lysol and Febreze isn't going to cut. It smells worse than that. That's why Jesus came to earth, though. He came here because there's such a radical change that needs to happen, we can't do it. And so, Jesus comes because we needed someone. We need someone with love so purely in their heart that nothing would change it. We need someone who can bear the insults and the accusations, who can bear the guilt and the shame without having his heart tainted by it. We need someone who can have the full weight of sin, our sin, applied to him, and still be able to look at us and ask that we be forgiven. We need someone who, out of the purity of their heart, can speak the truth in love and act out the truth in love. We need someone with such a radically godly life that its effects will be so pervasive as to be able to be applied to me. We need a whole new way, and that's why Jesus came. Jesus came to get rid of the stench in our hearts. One of my favorite Bible passages is in 2 Corinthians 2:15. It says this, "For we are the aroma of Christ to God among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing." We are the aroma of Christ. When I come to know Christ, when I allow him to enter into my life, into my heart, and he begins to change that, that stench changes. It becomes a sweet aroma. It's the smell of the love of God in Christ that comes through me. I have to receive that. I have to activate that. I have to live that. I have to let that life grow in me. But that's what happens. There should never be such a thing as a stinky Christian. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't work. I should always be working to be more authentically like Christ. It's not about me personally. It's not about my own personal story. It's not about my genetics. It's not about where I've been and where I've not been and what I've done or not done. It's not about whether or not I know all the religious rules or I've broken every single one of them. It's not about any of those things. What it's really about is what I said last week, and that is, it's about Jesus. It's about what he has done, what he is doing, and what he will be doing in us. And Jesus, Matthew puts this other story, it's the latter half of what we're doing today, immediately right after this. Because it offers a good example, an illustration of exactly what Jesus was talking about. It says he left there, he went to Tyre and Sidon, and there he encountered a Canaanite woman. Well, that shouldn't have been surprising because that's where he was. The issue is, first, she's a Canaanite. Remember, the Canaanites were arch enemies of the Jews. They constantly had conflict. You can look back through the Old Testament, and they're always at each other. And God's always telling them, don't be like them. Don't live like them. Don't worship like them. So they were people that the Jews avoided at all costs. And if Jesus interacts with this Canaanite, he's going to be considered unclean. He's going to be defiled. He's not going to be able to go to temple unless he goes through all the cleansing rituals that he'd have to go through. Now, on top of that, not only is this person a Canaanite, this person is a woman. Now, that's not a big deal to you and I today in our society. But back then, there were very strict rules about the interaction of men and women in public, especially if they didn't have a family connection. That meant there was basically no interaction between them. But here this woman is, and she's throwing herself at him. He somehow interacts with her, and he's going to be defiled as well, even worse than just being a Canaanite. Now, on top of that, her daughter has an evil spirit. She's possessed. And the indication is that she has a young daughter. So the disciples and all the other people around there would be looking at and thinking about the fact that she must have done something really bad. That's what they thought then. If there was an illness, a disease, a sickness somehow, or possession by an evil spirit, somebody's sin somewhere caused that. So what did she do that caused her daughter to be possessed? She must really be a horrible person. She's a Canaanite, she's a woman, and she's got a possessed daughter. 3 strikes and you're out. And that's basically what the disciples are saying to him. Lord, just get rid of her. Would you please? But she keeps pestering him. And the thing that Jesus knows and understands is that though everybody else thinks he would be defiled by interacting with them, what did he just say? He says it's not what you eat that's going to defile you, but what comes from your heart. He knows that interaction with her is not going to change his heart one bit. He's not going to be defiled because of that. And yet, he kind of holds her at arm's length and presses her. And do you notice the very last interchange between the two of them? First he says, you know, I came only for the lost sheep. You don't throw the children's food to the dogs. That's an insult. And then she comes back with a simple saying, Lord, even the dog gets some crumbs. He's saying, Jesus, I'm not asking you to change your mission and ministry. I'm not asking you to change anything. Just throw a crumb my way, would you? I know you can. Can you just heal my daughter? That's all I'm asking. And his response is, wow, what great faith you have. It's going to be the way you ask because of that. What faith. He heard what came out of her mouth, and he knew the condition of her heart. Everybody else was just judging her by the outside. Jesus, this is not someone to mess with, okay? Just stay away from her. You're going to be defiled by this woman. No holy man should ever come in contact with her. But he knew what was going on in her heart. It was confirmed by her voice. Now today, we're so concerned about what we're eating. You all notice that? All the organics and the non-GMOs and all that. You know, Jesus would be looking at us and saying, that's not a bad thing, but you may be missing a point here. Because he said, it's not what goes in that defiles us, but what comes out. So he would look at us and say, okay, you all, the United States, you're eating well now. Healthier, that's a good thing. But what's coming out of us? You notice the last few days, weeks, and months? Oh, all kinds of stuff's being spewed out of people's mouths. Amazing what people are saying. Not only on the television, across Facebook and everything else. It's incredible. Is that what Jesus wants from us? Those of us who are his followers. Didn't the Apostle Paul remind us that when we are in Christ, we are a new creation? When Christ comes and lives in us, we're supposed to be different. We're not supposed to spew that kind of stuff. Or accept the fact that others are spewing. Christ, we're supposed to be the ones who show and express that love. The love of Christ. We're supposed to be that aroma of Christ. Paul also said it differently in Ephesians. He said, "Let no evil talk come out of your mouths, but only what is useful for building up as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear." And he slips down a few verses. "Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children, and live in love, as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us, a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." A fragrant offering, the aroma of Christ. That's what we should strive for. But often it's our words. And when we catch ourselves, we have to ask, what's in my heart? Am I not allowing evil talk to come out of my mouth? Am I speaking only what builds up, what's necessary, that gives grace to those who hear it? That's what he wants from us. A challenge, to be sure. But no one ever wants to be a potty mouth, right? Let's pray. Our gracious Lord, we thank you so very much for coming into our world, for risking being defiled by our humanity, defiling your very holiness. Thank you that you did that. Thank you that your heart remained pure and untainted. Thank you that you bore the weight of all of our sin. You paid the price for us. Thank you that you made a way for us, because there's no other way we could do it. So help us to receive your grace and love. Help us to live in that grace and love. Help it to fill our hearts and push out that old potty-mouthed self, so that the purity of Christ lives in us. And may that be evident by what we say and what we do. Lord, as you have spoken beautiful and wonderful words to us, may they be the same words we share with others.